Kind of feeling I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
I have had an overwhelmingly negative reception for Marvel films over the years, and it has become a common saying among a lot of my viewers that because I have had an overwhelmingly negative reception to most of Marvel's cinematic outings, it's because I just don't like Marvel. A hilarious implication, because by that logic, if you thought my Marvel reviews were complete ass garbage 90% of the time, it means you just don't like me. It's true to a point that I just don't like Marvel in the same way that people in the early 2000s just didn't like Firestone after their tires started exploding. When Marvel releases tires that don't explode, I like them just fine. Wait, what? There is one reason, and only one reason, that I don't like Marvel, and it is this. Of the 9 films they have released between 2008 and 2014, 2 of them have been legitimately good films. The rest have either been brainless C-list entertainment, and even that is rare, or stupid, useless, commercialized wastes of film the studio shoved into the theaters, not caring whether it's good or not, and it isn't, in order to bilk money out of the general public by unnecessarily whetting their appetites for brainless C-list entertainment. It's like a giant money pyramid where quality is the second to last tier, just above respect for consumer intelligence. Case in point, Ant-Man. Edgar Wright, one of the greatest filmmakers alive in my opinion, had been working on this project for almost a decade. He was proud of this work, he was invested, he believed in it, and he worked tirelessly to make sure it would be the best film he could possibly make it. Then one day he found out that the suits at Marvel Studios were having their own in-house writers rewrite his screenplay, without his permission or notification. It is presumed that his Ant-Man film wasn't aligning enough with the stick a dick in your mouth, go fuck yourself, who gives a shit Marvel Cinematic Universe, so they rewrote it. Edgar, being a man of tremendous artistic integrity, did the only thing that integrity would allow him to do: he quit. And all that work, all that innovation that he tried to inject into the film is lost forever. People who got a hold of Edgar Wright's Ant-Man script all said the same thing. That it was great, that it was unique, creative, innovative, and that's exactly why Marvel didn't like it, because they could give 2 shits about creativity or good films. They have a flat, flavorless formula that they know brings in the cash with as little talent, effort, or vision as possible, and the last thing this film studio would ever want to do is let some filmmaker tinker with their cash machine. And Edgar is only the most recent case. Countless filmmakers and creative talents have been alienated by this studio, some who had such a negative experience that they vowed never to come back to it. Now, there is always a give and take between studio and creative talent, but this is an outright dictatorship. I don't understand why Marvel even bothers to hire filmmakers if they don't care about filmmaking. Why not just let their own in-house ass clowns scrawl all of this garbage out if that's basically what they're just going to end up doing anyway? Why be in the film business if you don't care about films? Marvel Studios has a business plan, not a creative philosophy. This is an environment that stifles creativity, discourages innovation, diminishes vision, and turns away talent left and right. Because they don't care about talent. They care about money. Your money. And thanks to the baffling, bewildering success of the stick-a-dick-in-your-mouth Marvel Cinematic Universe, they now know good and well that novelty fan butt service sells far more than good films do. So let's get the record straight. I don't dislike Marvel just because it's Marvel. I dislike Marvel because they suck. And the films they release suck. And the ones that don't are now seeming to be either flukes or anomalies. Fuck this bullshit. I went into Guardians of the Galaxy really looking forward to it. All the ads made it look great, and that doesn't happen to me very often. Usually Marvel ads will just make the films look stupid and brain dead, because they usually are, but this was different. Alright, I thought, this one looks at least slightly self-aware. It looks like it knows how silly and deliberate it is, and that it's just gonna have as much fun with that as it can. Not particularly sophisticated an idea, but it's about as sophisticated as Marvel gets, so yeah, this one looks like fun. It's not. Guardians of the Galaxy is one gigantic 2-hour exposition dump. Nearly the entire movie does nothing but explain and set up the plot, and the precious few moments dedicated to its characters also merely explains either their backstories or what they're going to do in the plot. The movie is just dead, and considering what the ads made it look like, I am truly surprised and truly disappointed this time. We start out by being introduced to Peter Quill, and just by going by the ads, I thought this was going to be a fish-out-of-water character, like a Philip J. Fry or a John Crichton or maybe an Arthur Dent, where there's culture shock, surprise, and wonder of how these alien civilizations work, and the aliens reacting to him would react with confusion and bewilderment about the strange human culture. But no, this character was abducted in 1988. He's been living here his whole life. He understands the way the galaxy works better than most of the alien characters do. So if this guy is already acclimated to the alien cultures and has no surprise and wonder of his surroundings, then what benefit is there in making him a human character in the first place? Comedic benefit or otherwise. He may as well be one of the aliens. What a fucking waste. The moments in which his human culture takes the aliens by surprise are so fucking few and far between, and even when it happens, it falls flat. The aliens listen to his mixtape from the 1970s. That's it. No comedic setup, no real reaction to it, they just listen to the tape. And even when there is a reaction, it's fucking retarded and makes no sense. But we'll get to that later. I figured this was going to be just a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek romp that you don't have to take that seriously or think about that much. But no, this takes itself more seriously than any of the Marvel films I've seen so far. The film starts out with Peter Quill witnessing his mother dying of cancer. All of the characters' backstories are tragic as fuck. The big dude had his whole family slaughtered. The green woman was kidnapped and turned into a living weapon. The raccoon guy was a lab experiment who feels like an abomination. There's genocide, war, and depression throughout the entire cosmos. Wow, how fun! I don't get it. Where's the comedy in all this? Where's the tongue-in-cheek? I mean, it's one thing for a comedic drama to try to inject a little heart and even a little pathos, but it so over-dominates the film that it's never fun to watch this, especially since all the tragic plot lines and backstories suck because that's all they are. This movie does nothing but explain the plot. There is never a story where the characters can participate in the plot. All we get from the characters are their backstories. There is never a moment for these characters to develop personalities. The plot, in a general sense, involves a villain trying to get a hold of an alien artifact that will give him control of the universe. You may remember this plot from every single fucking plot these goddamn Marvel movies have ever had. But see, this is just a general description of what's going on. In particular, this is what's going on. A race of aliens known as the Kree recently made a peace treaty with a world called Xandar. One of these Kree, a guy named Ronan, doesn't recognize that treaty and wants Xandar wiped out. To do that, he wants an orb that a group of space pirates also wanted and sent Quinn to retrieve. So Ronan sends Gamora, who is the daughter of this other character, who Ronan is also working for, who also wants the orb, to retrieve it. But Gamora betrays Ronan and the other guy and intends to sell it instead to another character called the Collector, who also wants the orb for— oh my god, shut up! Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Why is this so complicated? Why is it this much of a mess? Why is there this much minutia to keep track of? I thought this was supposed to be fun! Where is the goddamn story in all of this? Oh, and as if this wasn't complicated enough to keep track of, it turns out that the main villain is in cahoots with this other villain that I mentioned earlier, I think, who they reveal as if he's a really important part of this whole thing. He wants the Infinity Stone and has tasked the blue-hooded dude to go get it, but when the blue-headed dude finally does, he takes it for himself and the big-jawed guy gets pissed off and then goes away. And we never see him again. Who the fuck was he? Why is he in the movie? He didn't do anything. And why are they piling on sub-character after sub-character, subplot after subplot, if this was just supposed to be a kick-back and enjoy-yourself film? It's more complicated than most dramas are. And I mean, the plot of Captain America the Winter Soldier was complicated and intricate as well, but that all added up to something in the end. It all paid off. This is an absolute mess with no payoff whatsoever. This mishmash of characters are eventually thrown in prison together and decide to work together in order to sell the orb and split the profits. But all of a sudden, and completely inorganically, all the characters end up being friends. For absolutely no reason. There is not one defining moment that you can point to say, okay, here's where they start understanding each other, here's where they stop being unwilling partners and start being friends. It just happens in the course of, at most, 2 days. Literally, 1 second they don't like each other but are forced to work together, the next second they're friends, and the next second they're willing to die for one another. That kind of a bond doesn't happen that quickly, especially when the characters never talk about anything but their own backstories, which is all they fucking do. A good comedy with a ragtag cast requires a good balance of comedic characters and straight men, but these characters are almost all straight men. The only one that has any real personality at all is the damn raccoon, who will occasionally be funny, but the rest of them are almost completely interchangeable, especially the green woman and the big dude. You could switch the dialogue between these two and have it sound just as natural coming from either one of them. In fact, I think that might have accidentally happened. We establish at one point in the film that the big guy takes things literally. He doesn't understand analogies. That is apparently one of his own personal character traits. So, okay, he takes everything literally. That is a personality trait that I can now identify with him. But later on in the film, we get this.
I'm a warrior and an assassin. I do not dance.
Really? Well, on my planet, there's a legend about people like you. It's called Footloose. And in it, a great hero named Kevin Bacon. He teaches an entire city full of people with sticks up their butts that dancing, well, it's the greatest thing there is.
Who put the sticks up their butts?
What? No, that's just a...
That is cruel.
Just a phrase.
Okay, so they all take things literally? Huh? Did the director mix up the two characters because they're so interchangeable? Was he supposed to be talking to the big guy in this scene, but the director just forgot? Who wrote this garbage? And how the fuck does he know who Kevin Bacon is? He was like 7 years old when that movie came out, and he's been living here ever since. Kevin Bacon himself didn't become a cultural reference until well after he was gone. It makes no sense. Oh, and just as an aside, we were told back there somewhere that the Green Woman was engineered to be a living weapon. May I ask how? She didn't do anything particularly weapony. She didn't have gun implants in her arms or anything like that. She was kicking ass and getting her ass kicked same as the rest. What the fuck? Who's writing this garbage? Basically, all that happens is that these characters have the orb that everybody else wants, so they all sit around deciding what to do with it. At one point, they try to sell it to this collector who comes in and out of fucking nowhere, just like all the side characters do. He agrees to buy it, but before paying for it, he gives them, you guessed it, the entire backstory of what it is, where it comes from, and how it works. Inside the orb is an infinity stone that will kill anyone not powerful enough to handle it, but gives ultimate power to someone that is. Why the hell did he tell them that? He's just buying the thing. You goddamn walking exposition plot convenience. Anyway, the Collector is outdone by his assistant in a narrative leap that I won't even bother trying to explain because it's also just a retarded plot convenience, and the heroes regroup when suddenly the villain shows up. None of the heroes know how he knew where to find them when suddenly the big dude reveals, oh yeah, I had someone here contact him and told him to come here so I can challenge him to a fight. Now, get this. The villain arrives, takes a look at the big dude and says, oh, you contacted me? Well, fuck you, I'm leaving. So, wait, he didn't know why he was being contacted, but he came all the way here anyway? I mean, even if the big guy told him that the orb was here, why the fuck would he come personally? He wouldn't just send a lackey? Who's writing this garbage? So eventually the villain wrestles the orb away from the heroes and they all risk their lives to try to stop him. So they all concoct this plan to get onto his ship, fight their way to him, and kill him with a gun. Meanwhile, there's this other army that's taking his ship on from the outside. Oh, and there's also this other group of space pirates that are helping out as well. So all the main characters fight their way to the villain for 48 fucking minutes. They finally get to him, shoot him, and it doesn't work. They accomplish nothing, and his ship is brought down by the military. Why did we need to watch them go up there? They had nothing to do with his goddamn ship coming down! Now also, get this, there's a space pirate character fighting on the ground who has an arrow that he controls by whistling. Now, right there was the perfect opportunity for comedic gold. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. But no, this scene was played off like this was some kind of badass thing he was doing. What? We're supposed to take that seriously? So anyway, when the guy finally uses it, he whistles the thing around and it zips all over the place, penetrates even ship hulls, and kills everyone by running the thing through their heads. Why didn't they just bring this guy onto the villain's ship and have him whistle his stupid arrow through the villain's fucking skull? There is a moment in the end, however, when the ship crashes, Ronan gets out, and Quill distracts him. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That was the only moment in the film where I laughed. It was the only moment in the film that I thought was clever and captured what I thought this movie was going to be like. I thought that was going to be the tone of the entire film. But no, it's just an endless slog of plot exposition, backstory, and jokes that just die. Guardians of the Galaxy is the worst experience I have had watching a Marvel Cinematic Universe film so far. I went into this movie just to have a good time. What I got was the biggest 2-hour exposition dump I have ever sat through. The decisions that the characters make in this film are laughably stupid, but never made fun of. The stuff that's supposed to be serious is laughably stupid. And it's just the most ass-backwards, convoluted mess that I've ever seen. And I thank God that it's over. About the best I can say for Guardians of the Galaxy is that it sure makes the Avengers look a hell of a lot more worthwhile. I got on that movie's case for being mindless entertainment, but at least it actually was entertaining some of the time. This was just a dud.